Warwick, remember that time we were in Patagonia?
I do remember that, mate.
G'day, I'm Dan James, one of the 41 riders that took on this year's 2024 GAUCHO Derby. And I'm here to share the stories, the highlights, the lows, the triumphs, the victories, the near deaths. One of the most incredible adventures and journeys that I've got to experience in my entire life. You know, C.S. Lewis says, God is more interested in your character than he is in your comfort. And this was one of those times. So how did I end up here? Well, like a lot of things, either comes from a good mate or a bad idea, or both of them together. In this case, it was Warwick Schiller. Told me about this crazy adventure in Patagonia, this race. And I'm like, where do I sign up? And then in addition, I talked another good mate, Elliot Holtzman, into coming along. Just to get to this event was a journey. I flew from Lexington, Kentucky, met Warwick and Elliot in Dallas. Then we flew to Buenos Aires, down to El Cafate. And from El Cafate, we were joined by the rest of the other riders, vets, and everybody else involved in the race. And then it was what we were told, 7-hour bus ride that turned into 10 hours all the way to the start camp. We arrived in the afternoon at the Estanza, or what you would know only as a ranch or a cattle station. We met the rest of the crew and the team that was supporting the race, got to see some of the horses, and got the ship in to now we would be spending the next couple of days. All 41 riders and vets shared the accommodation of the big tin shed. Packing and unpacking. One of the biggest challenges in this entire race was the organisation of your gear, knowing where each and every detailed piece was, knowing how much that it weighed. So the amount of packing and unpacking and repacking went on and on for several days for everybody involved. We had 3 solid days where we got to test out the gear and equipment that we had on the horses to see what worked, didn't work. Thank God we did that. In addition to that, we had many different meetings on survival, navigation, and medical assistance on how that we could help support and be a first responder to other people in the race.
An extra breakfast, or a breakfast, because I don't have any breakfast at the moment, a breakfast or petroleum jelly. But petroleum jelly weighs 28 grams. Breakfast weighs 106 grams. I think I'm going with petroleum jelly. And if you're wondering why petroleum jelly, because out there the wind and the cold is brutal, and I don't want my face to peel off.
And that's the decision.
How the horse draw worked is that each horse had a number on it that was then written on a piece of paper, put into a hat, and you drew that number out of a hat. Made it a fair shot for everybody drawing a horse. The names that I came up with each day was a list of names that my kids had given me before leaving to go away.
Horse draw is over. I got horse 108, and Dan got, what'd you get? 208? You got horse 208. I got 108.
I wrote it down.
So now we're just packing our final packs to head to weigh in.
So day one at the start line, we were all excited. Everybody can't wait to get out and get going. And of course, it's this huge cluster of horses and people trying to get tacked up and get ready and get saddled. And so we draw our horses, we get down there, we get everything on, and it's a long process. And we finally get to walking to the start line, all 41 of us. And of course, as we hit the start line, they've got these massive GAUCHO Derby start line flags set up, which look amazing, but of course, none of these horses have ever seen it. And so it's just a cluster just trying to get there. I've never seen so many people get run off, flipped over backwards, bucked off in the first, before the race has even begun. And so we finally get to that line and we're all lined up and they go and we all take off and everybody's cheering and happy, and it's exciting and scary moment all at the same time. And we get going along, and man, I'm not only like maybe 10 minutes into it, and we had to wear all of our coats and then off the line. So my setup that I was originally planning on was a little different. And long story short, my GoPro detaches, falls to the ground. I'm like, no, I'm gonna have to go back and find it. So finally, I go back. I find it after tracking it, and you can imagine. So as we headed out, I was fortunate enough to be in some of the group leading the charge, so to speak. And now I've had to go back, and I get off, and there's 30-something horses coming over the top of us. And now I'm trying to find it, and I'm like, I just don't want to lose it. It's the day one. So finally track it down, get it back, and I look up, and there's Elliot. He's come back and found us and waited for us. So we set off again, now at very much at the end of the pack, and we only go probably another 20 minutes or so, cross over the river, and Elliot's rings on the back of his saddle like snap out. And so all of his equipment is now like lopsided and it's not in the right place. It's falling off. So again, we take the time, we get that all set back up, and we head out. And of course, we're coming into the first vet station, and we're second to last. Very demoralizing in that moment. But it gives us a moment to kind of like regroup. Our horses, of course, passed the vet check, no problem at all. The horse that I had for this day was called Toothless, a black gelding, really forward going, easy to ride, didn't steer really well to the right, and really particularly wanted to follow along the other horses, wasn't much of a leader. We make it through the vet check, and fortunately Katie and Will had waited for us. And as we approach, there's a kind of a spot in the fence where there's two different gates, and it's one of those moments that it worked out that where we'd come in to that station, that we were then able to choose the right side of the fence and the right gate to go through, as most of the lead, almost half of the field, had gone down the wrong side of the fence. So in this race, it's something that just in a matter of moments just can flip-flop like you would not believe. So we choose the right side of the fence, the gate to go through, the correct position. And one of the other riders that is there with us, great guys, goes to hop on his big black horse, and just gets a foot in the stirrup, swings over, and boom, horse rears up. He comes tumbling off. He's fine, gets up, and we go on. And this was just such a, what ends up being such a typical moment of like these horses you're trying to get used to. You're trying to do they're feely. You got to, go about trying to get on them, quickly and softly, and then be prepared to go. So we get going, and the wind, we start coming up this first hill, and I've literally never felt, seen, or experienced wind like when they said, hey, the wind in Patagonia is of an epic proportion. You can never imagine that it could be just as violent and as strong as what it can. And it just like seemingly comes from absolutely nowhere. As we start making our way up this hill, we get to a position where you can feel the wind shifting the horses laterally, and we have to lean off to the side to help counterbalance the horses going up these hills so that they wouldn't fall down. Like if you had have unclipped your helmet would have blown off. I've never seen anything like. The horse's ears literally were getting blown laterally to the side, which is something that I've never seen before. And then you can imagine mix in there the dust and the dirt and the sand. Fortunately, most of us had goggles that we could put on, but it was like being sandblasted in addition to it. Warwick and the group of people that he was with also run into their own sorts of trials just in this very short thing. Here we can see the horse gets tangled up in the fence. The amazing thing about it is the horse doesn't ever panic, and Warwick and the rest of the crew are here able to get this guy out. You know, the wire was high tensile, almost impossible to cut, but they're able to get this horse out with really, at the end of the day, very little, problems. But, certainly in that moment, pretty hectic as how the situation could have unfolded very, very differently. So we make it into the second vet check. Things have gone pretty well. We're in a good spot. And then we had to roll the dice. Are we going to stay the night or go on to vet check number 3? Well, we ended up rolling the dice. We came in with a few minutes overtime, got a few time penalties, but it sure put us in a good position going into day number 2. Here we are. We're actually sitting here in one of the sheds that we found. There's Morgan, all jealous about the barn. So yeah, that was it was an eventful. Elliot, what do you think of your horse?
It's like a touchy little cow horse. A big gelding that's, cutter size.
Yeah, but we're going to set up camp in here tonight, cook some dinner, and I guess we'll get to go down to that creek, might wash our faces and stuff down there at that river. Yep. That'll feel pretty good. All right, over and out for day number 1.
If you guys need help, sing out.
Yes, please. So we waited out our time penalties and then saddled up and were able to get going. The navigation between the next 2 stations was pretty straightforward. We made pretty good time in getting in there. We then changed out our horses, got our new horses, and the new horse that I picked out, I nicknamed Tim Raphael. Super strong, athletic type horse, the type that you'd kind of see yourself if you had to riding him into war. It was at this horse station that one of the first mistakes that I made occurred. I'd had a hydration pack on and drinking, but had not been taking any electrolytes. And just in cinching down the tack and equipment, I felt something tear in my arm, which later on ended up being the upper attachment of the bicep and the rotor cuff, just from not having enough electrolytes in it. So as we leave that horse station, we headed out. We headed up sort of high on the ridge to try to, follow along the creek, but from a distance. We descended down into the creek and we're making our way along the creek when we found ourselves in a pretty tricky situation.
You right?
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
You might have to take his saddle off.
Yeah. Here, yeah, hold this horse.
Got it. Let me have him.
Oh my God.
Might have to get a rope and roll him over even.
You all right, Will? Good job, guys.
What did he hit? He just stumbled on these.
Giant hole right here. Come over here and use your horse. There we go.
Well,
Oh, that's what you hit. Are you okay?
yeah, he's just a bit. Make sure he goes forward.
Straight forward. Yeah.
So as we got back up and going and continued along, you know, you kind of think when you see some of the landscape in here, you're imagining that it's going to be these great big beautiful green meadows and pastures that you can just have, you know, this open gallop along and you're going to make up a bunch of time. The reality of it is that country is so different from stuff that I'd ever seen before, because what looked like could be really easy going turned out to be mostly full of bogs that the horses could go down to their bellies or their hocks in. And so we had to stay along the edge of the timber for a lot of this area. We got to see some wild horses out there along the way, but we mostly looked for and stuck on the cattle paths to help navigate our way through. In this particular section here, we overshot a little bit and you know, we lost a little time in coming into the next vet station.
We are through vet check 5. Along the way.
Hey, check this out. So here we are. We've made camp for tonight. End of day 2. By the grace of God, some things that went our way, some things that didn't. But we're sitting here 20 minutes away from our final vet check location. Now I'm here setting up camp. Pretty excited about tonight. These horses are the ones that really deserve the credit, because these things are absolutely total machines going across this country. I've never seen anything like it. Day 3, it's a beautiful morning. It had been a long night the night before. Where we camped was an amazing location, but we didn't have anywhere to tie our horses to. So we spent the night on shifts up and down throughout the night, checking on horses. We had them hobbled, but we didn't have anywhere securely to tie them to. So we tried to utilize some stones, which was kind of hit and miss. I know at one point I woke up and the horse was halfway up the side of the hill, even with the hobbles on, just grazing. They were super athletic and able to move around with the hobbles on. Will and Katie spent most of their night up and down, but it was a beautiful place where we were, and we're all in good high spirits, headed out into day 3. And we're riding along. We got Mary riding along with us, and we get to this spot, and down to our right, it drops off by 20 to 30 feet down into the actual river, and above us there's up into the mountains. And I hear Mary, Ellie and I are out in front. I hear Mary, and she's like, "Hey, help, help!" And it's, you know, you could tell it was a real distressed moment. And we look back just in time that as she's gone to get off her horse because the saddle has slipped, the saddle has completely slipped. Her foot stuck in the stirrup. She's hanging onto the lead rope, trying to do the best that she can, and the horse pulls away. Now, thank God that her foot comes out of the stirrup, but the horse gallops off blindly, now with the saddle completely underneath his belly and back and his flank, and he just like disappears straight off the edge of the cliff to below. And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, if that horse isn't dead, it's going to be in really bad shape. I'm sure that it's fallen down, broken its legs, its neck, and you know, we're going to have to deal with this situation with possibly just cutting the horse's throat in order to do the best that we could. We get to the edge, and I get down to the horse, and I cannot believe that this horse not only has got all but just a tiny graze on his back left hock, he's totally fine. And it was just one of those just moments that was, again, like watching a train wreck unfold. and not being able to believe what had just happened in front of us.
Holy shit.
Where's your girth?
Hey, Katie!
Oh my god. Let's see, what else is on that side? At least it wasn't my sleeping bag.
Here's your glasses. Anybody see a girth? Okay, we got no girth. Where's your lead that you tie him up with? Take it out, we'll make a temporary girth out of that, but like, here's the thing, you're not gonna be able to ride him with it.
Right.
You have to. And
Next horse station.
Bill, just give me that rein. I was praying for you this morning. Someone's looking out for you because that could have been a bad wreck.
Oh my god, and I tried to hang on to him and I just...
Okay.
Oh god!
You'll probably see it catch up to us.
Yeah.
I know, it's happened before.
So as we make our way back up out of the river, Courtney decides to continue on with Mary back to the previous vet check where she'll be able to get another girth. My hat is completely off to both of them. One for Courtney sticking it out with Mary, and for Mary just being such a soldier in continuing on. We don't get to see them until the very end of the race from here on out. Katie, Will, Elliot and myself, we continue on to our next vet check and horse station. Horse station 2 is where I got to meet my most favourite horse in the entire race. Fish Legs is what I named him after, from Isabella. And he was just a kind horse, but he had a huge heart, big motor, go anywhere that you asked him to go. Definitely was just unbelievable about the endurance and where that horse was willing to go and to follow. It was one of the toughest legs of the race in the demoralizing forest. Very hard navigationally to find our way through. Towards the end of that afternoon, we got to a point where that we only had a matter of minutes before we needed to find water for these horses and a place to camp down for the night. We ended up finding that water, but it was a narrow stream. And I couldn't believe, I've never seen horses do this before. They knew that they needed to rehydrate and to drink. And each of those horses got down onto their knees in order to be able to access the water. It's amazing to see the survival instinct in these horses be able to kick in. Where we camped was at the top, literally, of the mountain. And it's the only one night in that dense forest that I don't know if I did or didn't, but in my mind is that the night that I heard the mountain lions fighting right outside the tent. It could have been a zipper, could have been mountain lions, I'll never know. But the forest was definitely one of the most challenging parts on the entire race.
Fish legs 029.
Day number 4, the demoralizing forest. We just spent the night at the top of this mountain, and now it seemed to be like, hey, we just got to come down off the top of this mountain, happy days. Well, it started out as one of those mornings. It was wet, it was cold, it was miserable. Navigation was very difficult. Our horses, again, were just champions throughout this entire stretch, which is, again, one of the reasons just why that I was so in love with fish legs. Warwick and his team also encountered some bad weather. They were a little behind us in coming into the mountain when they hit some of the rain. We had a little more shelter from being tucked in the density of this forest. One of the things that was unexpected on this race, particularly in the demoralizing forest, was how much time that I spent on foot. In climbing up on day 3 and back down the mountain on day 4, I found myself a lot of time leading fish legs through it. Being one of the bigger guys and carrying more weight, that played a big part into it, in particularly the long, steep climbs. But then there were so many sections of this that in order to physically fit through mounted just became such a battle because of the backpacks that we were carrying and the saddlebags, that in many cases I found it in the best interest of helping my horse to have to hop off and lead him.
We are currently at a standstill on the side of the mountain because there's ravines to our right, and well, there's another one here, marshes that are basically bogs. Dan and Will are putting a bunch of wood, downed logs, in the bog so that we could walk over it. Got Dan's horse here. He named it Fish Legs. My gray gelding, Colin, Little Swampy. Behind us is another bog. It's got flowing water through it. So we're crossing in this ravine over here. They're just making a big old pile of wood so we don't get stuck in it. Could walk right over.
Like, that's down. We're in here. Somewhere.
Yeah,
But we just need to get down.
I see what you mean.
And then we can track along the open all the way up there.
Yeah.
End of day 4. I got the horses staked out. They're grazing. Got our tents right here, tucked right behind this tree. because the wind's coming straight off of these mountains over here at us. It was drizzling earlier. We got the river right here. Tomorrow morning we will be heading straight that way through that peak. Our next vet check and horse stop or swap. And that's the other side of the mountain that we had come over and had fought basically the second half of yesterday and 2/3 of today, cutting through all those trees.
What are you doing?
No.
Looks
Oh.
Living the dream or what?
So just after midnight, I hear a loud crackling of branches, and directly behind it, a horse calling out and comes galloping towards the tents. I sing out to Will and Katie, and then to Elliot, as I hear the horse gallop past our tents, barely missing them. We all pile out, headlamps on, boots, a jacket, and take off out into the absolute black bliss of the night in search of the horse. We could still hear him galloping in the distance, and tracking the drag marks, we tracked him to the last gate that we went through, where that he had then gone through that gate. The branch and that he'd been dragging had been stuck in the fence, and he was now gone. So in that moment, there was that absolute feel of like, man, we're in a pretty bad spot right here. If we can't find this horse here, what that's going to cause for us the next day is it's going to be a big problem. So Elliot headed back, grabbed a couple of our other horses. We brought them down, and with encouraging them trying to call out, we were able to encourage the horse that had run off back into a same area. We then found a smaller corral or paddock and were able to coach him in there with the use of the other horses. Finally, after several attempts, Will was able to get his hand on him. We got him caught back up. It made for a long night.
He's good.
Good.
56. The heart rate.
Good.
You want him to trot?
Yeah.
Hey, you going good?
Good, mate. Is there fried bread too? Oh my goodness. Oh. Hola. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Welcome to my house.
Oh, this is your place.
This is my house.
Gracias.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, oh.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Acá. Torta.
Ah, torta. Gracias.
She got kicked in the chest.
Leaving horse station number 3, immediately on our way out, one of the girls gets kicked in the chest. Thankfully, at that time, there was a medic right there on site, and at the end of the day, she only ended up having the wind completely knocked out of her. Leaving that station, though, although that we had fresh horses, was presented with its own new set of challenges. One, Elliot's horse was constantly trying to buck him off in the initial stages of leaving, and we hit some really steep mountainside passes that we had to navigate our way through. In addition to that, then climb up and out of them. It was a challenge for every horse and rider, And that's where that for a lot of us, again, we found ourselves in a position hopping off our horses just because in that short amount of time that we didn't yet have the confidence or know our horses very well. Even that they were sure-footed and that they had been there before, it got a little sketchy. So it was a part of the course that was certainly full of moments of exhilaration, a little fear, and lots of excitement. And of course, at the end of the top of climbing out of some of these, just absolute exhaustion once making it up out of some of these really deep climbs that we had to, take on. You're going to see in here, there's footage from both myself and Warwick and Elliot that helps to capture the moments as we are navigating our way through this section.
We just made it up the hill. We are wiped out. Where'd the bird go?
I have not ever intentionally gone up some of that steep.
Look, you can see the top side
Whoa,
of the bird. What is it?
it's in a condor, isn't it?
It's a condor?
Yeah. After making it to our next vet station, we were met by one of the Canadian vets that we loved, and he said, "Oh, it's pretty easy going, getting to, a little further down the track. There's a great big rock and that you camp at. It's a really beautiful, pretty spot." I realized very quickly along this that the Canadians' definition of easy going was way different than anything that I would describe. But we made camp, found a great location to spend the end of day number 5.
Yeah, feel that wind drop straight off. Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys think?
So good.
Righto, here we are at our camp. Hey, what day is it? End of day 5, not quite where we want to be, but nevertheless, we are still kicking along. It has been a long day. We're getting ready here to have some dinner. Got our little camp set up. Oh, there's Will. Give us a show. Elliot looks like he's got his jet boil going. Obviously pretty close here to the river. And got a few different choices. Obviously we got breakfast there. I think I'm going to go with the pasta primavera and see what that's like tonight.
Day number 6, the Plateau of Death. This was one of the longest days in the entire race. And in addition to it, there was some of the challenges that we'd not yet faced. We'd heard about these rock bogs, but it's kind of hard to imagine what it could possibly be like. It feels like that you're walking across good solid ground that is mostly rock, and then all of a sudden it turns into quicksand. It was super dangerous, and for me, probably in many ways, one of the most treacherous parts of the entire course. One of the other riders, Josephine, ended up being stuck for several hours with her horse in one of the rock bogs. At this time, it was actually sent out an SOS to all riders to converge on her GPS coordinates. Everyone that was in that area at the time made their way to her location. By the grace of God, at that time of arriving to it, she had managed to eventually get her horse out. And he was, of course, quite exhausted. And, it was emotional for her. It was stuck there by herself and in this position. And so I think Josephine was pretty excited to get to see all the riders that turned up in support to help her through that. Making her way through the Plateau of Death was also beautiful. It is one of the most incredible, different appearances on the face of the earth that I've ever seen. It felt more like being in outer space and being on the moon than it did to be anything here on earth. So as we come off the Plateau of Death, the country once again starts to completely transform. We find ourselves going back into where there's rivers and heavy and dense forest. We even were able to see several tracks left by a mountain lion that I'm sure that we had scared off just moments ahead of us. As we then made our way to the next vet station. I gotta admit, by this time, my ass was a little sore. And one thing I learned about this race is that you learn all sense of dignity. But praise God for the medics. They were amazing and patched a bunch of us up, including myself, to help us keep going.
Really? Does it have blood?
What?
Does it have blood? We can make it have blood.
So as we cleared the vet station, we come up out of this huge valley to the mountain tops, and this amazing aqua water was revealed. I've never seen anything like it. The color of it was just unbelievable, and it seemed to go forever. From there, we made our way down to our next horse station and resupply kit. We had good intentions about being able to stay there the night and set out the next morning. But in this moment, we were informed by the race that if you stayed at that station, you would be put into the adventure category versus being continually competitive in the race. We got right down the wire because both Warwick and myself drew two really difficult horses. It was the fact that Elliot was there with us, that was on an older paint gelding, that he was able to help get us up, get us going, and get down the road. Now, we did end up incurring some time penalties at the end of this day, but it sure put the pressure on. You could feel the heat of the moment, and it was, again, at times a real test of patience and endurance to see how we were going to finish our day up.
Warwick got bucked off as his horse tried to jump a freaking fence when he got on. And this old one on mine, I had to help hold him so that him and Dan could mount their horses. And now we're hauling ass. Had to point him in the correct direction. so they wouldn't go back. And we have a matter of minutes to get to the next station. We're probably gonna have a time penalty no matter what. But these horses are so freaking fresh, we're just going fast.
Took a dinner with friends. Fed our asses.
Here, Elliot, I promised you chocolate. Here's your peanut butter chocolate.
Oh, sweet.
Anybody, you want a snack? Can you eat something like that? That's Elliot's.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Well, Elliot,
You could.
I'll get you one now.
How many you got? Where are we?
I don't know, middle of fucking Patagonia somewhere.
We got new horses at horse station and
They sucked.
Would you like something from Warwick's grab bag? Hey, talk about Aussie stuff. I got the tradies, mate. Tradies get the ladies. What else have we got in here? This is good shit. It's going to be warm tomorrow, 21 degrees. Anybody need some?
His horse was so bad that he didn't have time to get his resupply bag, so the medic just delivered it. So he's checking out what's in it.
Anybody else like a little bit more cask wine?
And then the vet left a box of wine for us.
Oh, you need some wine. You're welcome to join us.
Elliot, look what we
What do you got?
A bag of them. Holy
Back
shit.
granola bars. So it's like 10:30 at night, right?
This is the latest that we've stayed up since.
Yes.
We're gonna sleep like dogs tonight.
Get up at 4:30, do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our horses are
Like a
in an
tea bag.
actual fenced pen
I can sleep.
right there.
Time.
Oh, that's a good brand though.
Yeah, there's.
That brand has more calories than the rest.
Yeah, I think that one's.
They also weigh more.
Also, Grace.
Please.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of friends and family around us. Thank you for the gift of the horse and for this time together. May you bless this meal, and we just thank you for your favour. We thank you for your grace and mercy that is upon us. Amen.
Amen.
And thank you for not having me on that horse when we jumped.
I can't wait to look to see that I hope I caught it. Like I had it on the GoPro on my chest. But the part where Kent's just like, did Warwick have his helmet strapped on? I'm like, I fucking hope not, because otherwise his head's in that helmet rolling in the drain and he got decapitated.
I'm like, you don't have a helmet on. I couldn't find it.
I've had more shit taped on this trip than I have in my
Have you got your
entire
bag
life.
taped?
No.
Yeah. So,
Where you should hang. Or you go straight up.
Yeah, right.
so you lay down and then just go into like a seal pose
Yeah,
and then have someone put it on you.
really?
Mine was killing me. Just leaning forward, holding that weight of that
Yeah.
water bag. Every time I get on one, it turns on me GoPro. I go, because that pack of mine's pretty high in the back, so you got to step up and like put your chest on the pommel so your leg will go up and over.
On a horse at a clinic, like the way that I feel like I'm getting on, and I'm like, you useless bastard. You get on camera.
The stirrups, rough the saddle.
Just been bucked off. Day number 7. It's a beautiful morning. We wake up fresh, ready for the day at hand. Because of the time penalties the night before, Katie and Will leave, followed by Elliot, myself, Warwick stayed back to wait for Kansas and Todd to catch up. We get going. We're traveling along. We actually make pretty good time into the next horse station. And this one's kind of like, we've just kind of left that real beautiful aqua water, and this one's getting out a little bit more onto almost like a big dusty flats and plains with some high, large mountains, of course, in the background. At this Estands, it's got a really cool little spot that they've welcomed us in. They had coffee and basically a hot breakfast for it, which was just amazing. We go down, we draw our new horses. I'm excited because Bluey the day before was one of my less favorite horses. So I'm like, new horses is going to be amazing. And I draw Master Splinter. So I nicknamed him Master Splinter, but he was this little paint horse, and he had a little bit of a sore on the right side of his mouth going into it that I showed the vets to. I got him saddled, and he was pretty waspy just getting the saddle on. I got on, did my test ride, still didn't feel very confident. And in addition to that, Master Splinter only turned one way to the left. So if you wanted to go right, you need to do a series of left-hand turns. And given the situation and kind of how waspy he was to get on, I decided to take off my chest pack and just attach it to the breast collar on my saddle so that as I was climbing on a board, that I was able to get on easier. He wasn't awfully big, but he was just kind of tricky to get around. Anyway, Elliot and I head out along with Katie and Will, and we're probably 10 to 12 Ks in. And honestly, it was one of the days the wind was howling, it was blowing, just kind of getting a little bit sandblasted. So not great, comfort wise. And I just kind of to relax just a little bit. And out of nowhere, an enormous gust of wind comes through, blows up this tumbleweed underneath him, and Master Splinter throws down the ninja moves. Now, I'm not telling you that I could have ridden him even if I had been prepared, but I was definitely not prepared for this after the length of time that I'd been riding him. Breaks in half, lawn darts me out on the ground, and then in addition to that, if that wasn't bad enough, then proceeds to take off. Will goes after him in pursuit and chases him a couple of kilometers trying to get around him and was unable to. And so Will comes back, and man, we're at a crossroad, and yeah, it was a hard spot to swallow. Just getting bucked off was bad enough, but now having to realize that I'm going to have to walk back to the previous horse station and to get another horse. So at that time, I said to Katie and Will and to Elliot, I'm like, guys, you got to go on. I'm going to walk back. I'm going to draw another horse, and then I'm going to come chasing up, trying to catch up to you guys. And it was tough. Like, they all felt bad, but in that moment, there was literally nothing that they could do to help me. So they headed off, and I turned around for the long walk home. I walked around 6 or 7 Ks before I got picked up by somebody, and they were able to give me a lift back to the Estanza. And this is where it kind of took a bit of a bitter turn. In addition to being bucked off, then Master Splinter running off, as I'm walking back, dragging my pride along with me, a friend of mine who was a Marine had given me a letter, and he said, hey, if it really hits the fan, there's a letter here, open it in that event. So, of course, I reached to open the letter, but guess what? It too is strapped to Master Splinter that has now galloped off into the distance. So I lost my horse, I lost my encouraging letter, and my pride all at the exact same time. I got back, and the long story made short is that they literally ran out of horses. And so, I'm like, oh, wow. If, I thought that, it's going to kind of suck riding out by myself, but now I don't even have a choice. So then for the next 24 hours, I was stuck there at that horse station and had to wait to be transported forward to the next horse station in order to get a new horse. The other element was our families, my wife and kids back home, they've been watching the tracker, the dot on the map moving, and they see that I've been all of a sudden transported at a high speed back to a station the opposite direction to Elliot and everybody else, and there was immediate panic.
So I think the hardest day for us probably was Valentine's Day. We'd been watching Dan's Dot, which was his GPS. I mean, you take this whole adventure in a different country and you condense it down to a dot on a screen. And so every morning, every evening with the kids, we would refresh the screen and see where they were. And on Valentine's Day, I noticed obviously that the dot stopped moving. And that was concerning. It had been working all along, and other people's dots were moving and Dan's wasn't. And so that was probably a really hard day. You know, we were trying to get in touch with the people from the Gaucho Derby. When I saw his dot and Elliot's dot separate and Elliot kept moving and Dan's didn't, and then I saw his go back to the last vet check, yeah, that was a really hard time. And we've got a good crew around us, and that's where the power of prayer comes in. But it was definitely a whole day of trying to find out what had happened, trying to not let your mind go to the worst case scenario, and trying to get in touch with anyone with the Gaucho Derby just to tell us what was going on. I know that they had Dan fill out his paperwork of who his emergency contact was, and by the end of the day, when we hadn't heard from him, I was worried that in all the chaos, he had given him the wrong number, the wrong email. But yeah, I was really concerned as to why I hadn't heard from him and what was going on. I knew something had happened, but hadn't heard anything the whole day. So that was probably the hardest part of the trip, definitely for me, until I finally got to hear from him.
So after we leave Dan, I mean the mood was very low. You know, having to ride away from him and leave him, really he forced us to go on. We were gonna stay with him, and he was like, "No, this is a race. You guys have to keep going." Um, but the terrain kind of matched the mood we were in for the day. It was very dry, hot. Um, Probably felt like the longest day. Hard to find water. Anytime we found a water source, it was basically an old, mucky water hole that, and the day was just long. And those horses, they were probably the smallest of the group. They got tired and we ended up walking a lot. Um, Coming into the estancia at the towards the end of the day, I mean, we've been looking forward to getting there and planning on staying there. It was the first time we got to like a real water source. There was flowing clear water, and we were greeted. Some of the staff, they were the nicest ones. She came to us actually with cups of water and gave us water because they knew how hot the day was. And that evening, they even had a little campfire. They cooked for us, even had some chocolates. It was kind of funny that that day was actually Valentine's Day. And it was just nice to have a small group of people that after that really long day, they were all excited to be able to sit there and hang out together. And it was kind of like an uplifting little setting. We found out that it had been abandoned since like 1990. There were several houses, and if you looked in the windows, like everything was left exactly how it was. I mean, there were sheets on the beds even. And throughout that night, there was some interesting noises. And that next morning, we were happy to ride out of there.
Well,
Yeah,
this
totally
route,
see it. It's on the right. So
this
now
route,
we see where the road is. Maybe show these guys.
me.
You're a lefty.
Yeah.
Those scissors work for you or not?
Okay.
Oh, that's what it does?
Yeah.
This one this way or the other way?
That way, yeah.
About that.
Thank you. Don't think much need to wrap anything else around it.
Day number 8. That morning we started early, got packed up quick. The first part of the day, it wasn't too bad. It was still really dry. It got hot quick, but we were able to ride that span to the next vet check fairly quickly. Nice flat ground. On the map, I believe it showed that there was supposed to be a lake, and we were able to travel pretty quickly to that next vet check because the lake was dry and we just crossed straight over that. So we did not find any water that day until we got into the vet check. It was pretty rough. We encountered dozens and dozens of fences. Basically, we were descending down out of the mountains to the lake bottom where that next estancia was. And that whole way down, I felt like we were just doing a zigzag pattern. We'd find a way down, hit a fence, and have to do a straight line, you know, either a little bit forward or backtracking to try to find a gate. A couple times we hit big rocky ridges of cliffs, and we had to backtrack to go down and around because it was just too slick and too steep. We were able to see that estancia that was that horse station from hours away. So it was comforting to be able to see it, but at the same time, it just took forever to get there. It was a little bit of a relief to turn that horse in. I believe we went the longest stretch on those horses. It was a big party. Everybody was excited to get there.
Come on, boy!
Don't worry guys, it's not a ghost, it's just John's legs. Alright, here we are, day number 9. This is going to be the final camp, one way or another. My beautiful wife each day had written these notes, and it says, Psalms 20 verse 4, may he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all of your plans. God, I just thank you for today. I thank you for fulfilling all the plans of today. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen.
6:20 a.m. at the horse station.
Just preparing for the final day here. Warwick checking his binds. Kansas is standing here watching in awe.
Alright, we're about to head out. I already got on mine and test drove it for a second. Dan and Warwick are about to get on. All these suckers you gotta like get on and make sure they're not gonna buck, rear, run off before you could actually like go ride.
Hey mate, how many cartons of beer do you owe?
for falling off.
Yeah.
Oh. 3 on the chestnut. 1 on that one just there. Warwick owes 1.
Yeah, I owe 1.
Fucking hell, I'm broke.
Dan, what's your score? 1?
Yeah, I owe 1 carton. You owe 1 carton. I don't think you owe any. We headed that direction, old son. We're going to be all done today. You and me can go separate ways after it, but not before. I think you should be unicorn rainbow. It's going to be unicorn rainbow.
Before there, we'll be cutting back to the right. Here's Dan's test ride. You got it.
8:30.
Hey.
Boys, we'll be sitting at the bar tonight having a gin and tonic. Like one way or another, we're riding until we go. I'm riding until I go across that line tonight.
Yeah, I don't care if it's 9 o'clock at night.
And that was the mindset that we went into this final day. We believed that come hell or high water that we're going to be crossing that finish line tonight. Katie and Will in Kansas, they didn't have any time penalties and they headed out just ahead of us. Elliot waited for myself, Warwick and Todd in order for us to leave all together.
Okay, we're all going to point in one direction?
Yep.
You good, Eliotto? No?
Gotta be.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesus.
Whew, look at this.
Todd's gonna be a believer by the end of it.
I can't believe Warwick didn't give me 9 points.
Well, I told you lost form at the end, okay? You were good up till then.
And we headed out. And we really made good time in the first half of the day. There was a lot of different fences to navigate, but we got creative on how that we were able to get our way through them, picked up a couple other riders along the way, and life's good, life's happy, we're going good. And then we hit these massive ravines and canyons on and along the river, which really took a lot of negotiating and it slowed us down quite a lot. There was a lot of sketchy ass moments in going along navigating this particular part. Just when you think that I've seen as much wild terrain, steep, slick, rocks, everything, this race just keeps throwing it at you. It's just like one final, like just punch, cheap shot that you're going to get.
You good? Keep coming this way, mate. Yeah, along here. You got him. You're nearly there, brother. That's it, keep going. You're nearly there. Good job, Kansas. You got it, mate. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Mate, it's okay. We'll get. Oh no. Yeah. You wanna, and I can follow you along? You right?
Will, can you get Dan's horse to go? Can you see him from there? As they say in the movies, Todd. Fuck that. Got a little walk back up here tomorrow for a picture. Finish line. Because when the sun comes up in the morning, the sun will be directly on it. You want to take him or you good?
Elliot piles off to come and open up a gate, and the gate's locked. And in that moment, you're like, really, like we're this close, and now we're locked out. And it seemed to be like, how are we going to get through this fence? And so that's when people have asked me about this part of the race. I've said, it's a lot like the Hunger Games, that there's always some other little element just to mess with you to see, are you going to fold? Is your character going to stay intact? And how are you going to handle the situation?
There it is. Finish line. Yeah. We made it.
Hey man, get in here.
They have plenty of beer, plenty of wine, plenty of good food, they have showers and everything.
Showers! Oh.
Congrats!
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh.
You did it.
Apparently there's plenty more. What have you done to yourself?
I don't know. I fucked myself up again.
Really? Oh.
Good job.
Josephine.
I didn't open mine either, so I'm going to open it and see what's
Let's see what it says.
How you going, mate? I'd say by now it may suck a little bit on the trail.
You know, sometimes we need a little affirmation. What a cool opportunity you have being where you are in this moment. I bet the air is crisp and the skies are incredible. What a blessing it is to be healthy and have the ability to push ourselves physically. Most people will never understand some of the things that we do. Those of us who were born with a fighting spirit and possess a beating heart of a warrior. We stay up late clearing our mind and wake up early to train in order to not only harden our body, but most importantly, look sexy. Most people know the good things in life are not just given to you. You got to work hard and earn them. Romans chapter 5 verse 3. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance develops character, and character gives us hope. Whether we are juggling the responsibilities of being a parent, owning our own business, or climbing a mountain on horseback thousands of miles away from home, we fight battles. Some days our enemy doesn't look always the same. In the Marines, we were taught to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy. Today, the enemy is just over the next hill, right around the bend, just on the other side of that cold-ass water crossing. So keep your head down and keep moving that fucking horse in the right direction. 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, until you reach that finish line. Just keep your eyes and heart focused ahead, and when it really sucks, just say to yourself, don't be a little bitch. That usually works for me. Your family is counting on you. We're cheering for you back home. I'll have a cold one ready for you. Cheers, mate. Kick ass. Aaron.